And finally, I'm here with the topic that I promised 2 weeks ago. The topic that most of us wouldn't want to hear and discuss and talk because it disgusts most of us. Why it disgusts, you will come to know when I start talking about it. And I guess many of you all will have a feeling like, oh my God, I mean, how can this happen? And why would on earth something like this should happen? But it happens. It is happening. And why I want to bring this to everyone's notice is mainly because this particular thing has crazy mental effects, crazy bad psychological effects on individuals, which they wouldn't really acknowledge and come to know while they are into that particular thing or act, but it has its repercussions later in life. So yes, I'm talking about incest. Incest. Incest essentially means when people get involved physically or sexually with their own family members, and that is close family members. And this could be as close as a mother and son, a father and daughter, brother and sister, cousins, uncles, nieces, aunts, nephews, and uncles and aunts who have not married each other. So all these things, when they take place, it's nothing but incest. So something that you know is not morally, ethically allowed, or maybe it doesn't fit into the norms of the society. Essentially a person gets into that. Now this could primarily happen because of two reasons. One is because there is a rebel in all of us, and something that you said you cannot, you essentially want to do that. One. Second is there is a pervert in a lot of people. A lot of people happen to look at the opposite gender only from sexual point of view. Now this particular this particular characteristic or trait in a person can go to that extent that they wouldn't even spare their own mothers or sisters or maybe brothers or fathers or uncles or whoever to probably look at them in such a manner. Now this needs to be identified by the adults of the family or by the other people, and they need to be treated. They need to psychologically go and see someone to get rid of this kind of a behavior. Now why this happens essentially again is this is something that happens at teenage. When in teenage your certain curiosities that you had were probably not satisfied, so you kept those desires, those urges, those curiosities so much into you. I think those were buried to that extent that now when you get a chance to, you cannot control your instincts, you cannot control your urges with anybody and everybody. Now it can put a person deep into a problem, not only when it comes to the person's reputation and image, but even otherwise. So here I need to address a few things, is because now when people first time get into it. So now let me talk about two adults who consensually get into it. Now if there are two adults who consensually get into it, understand that either one of them is in a extremely weak mode of mind, but other one is able to think, but the other one is thinking that okay, let me take the opportunity, let me grab the opportunity. Sometimes both the people are in weak state of mind and they happen to get into an act like this accidentally. But whatever the case may be, if you feel it was just an accident, the person should next time talk about it. Now here again, if one of the person holds on to the greed element and thinks that no, it was fun and I cannot let go of this opportunity. So if you start blackmailing the other person that I will keep on, that I will expose you in front of family members. Sometimes it could be that one lady's marriage could be at stake if she's exposed. So she, just to save that marriage, she is trapped and she needs to fulfill the demands of the other person continuously. Similar could be with a man also. I just wouldn't say that the women are victims most of the times. Nowadays even men are equal victims. But what happens is, so men, how can men be victims? So maybe say sometimes a woman, to satisfy her sexual desires, she seduces the man, some other man in the family other than her husband, and when they end end up into the physical intimate relationship, the blackmail keeps on continuing that if this doesn't continue, I will expose you as a molester. So here also the man is forced to, just to save his image, he's forced to keep on being into a relationship probably he doesn't want to. Now, anytime, like, why would this happen is because the greed is overruling us. The greed is something that has captured your thinking, your rational mind. And here a person needs to understand that you are not at all in a healthy state of mind if you are taking these steps and actually continuing to do these things on a regular basis. So my urge to people who have encountered this, who know about this, is to please take help of a professional who can keep your things confidential and who can help you smoothly get out of this without causing you further damage in your life. Now let's talk about non-consensual. Now, so non-consensual relationships in such cases happen when usually with teenagers, and teenagers when they are in that urge, when they are in that curiosity mode where they want to know a lot of things about physical intimacy and physical relationships, they end up doing something which maybe they are caught doing, and then the adult who catches them doing that, instead of explaining and educating the child, usually blackmails the child and drags the child into an act like this. Now, I have handled multiple cases wherein I have seen these teenagers, somebody was cross-dressed and somebody, because he was staying with his uncle and aunt, the aunt forced him into this particular chap that I'm talking now. Surprisingly, both were boys that I have dealt with. And this particular chap was also cross-dressed and he was pleasuring himself. When the uncle caught hold of him, he thought he's a homosexual and he made him do the homosexual act with him. Now, here you are probably, indirectly even changing the orientation of the child without knowledge. And because the child is so scared to be opened up in front of his parents, the other relatives around are taking undue advantage of the child. So I request all the parents here also to kindly look into your child's sexual needs and sexual areas yourselves, and not let it happen by itself the way we all think that, okay, it's so natural, at the right and appropriate time they will come to know. But how will they come to know is a big question, and the way they come to know will decide their relationships in future with their spouses or their partners. Because if you are letting them realize these things and learn these things in these manners, wherein the other relatives, the other people around who are supposed to be their guardians, their caretakers, or in general an adult, a responsible adult, these are the people, the very people who, rather than comforting the child and explaining the child, they take undue advantage of it. To the extent I have had a case wherein a father has taken undue advantage of a daughter's vulnerability for her, that when she needed a man's touch, a man's attention in life, the father, rather than getting her married to somebody nice, getting her involved into a nicer relationship which she could carry on with life, he was satisfying his buried desires with his own daughter. Now, these were the cases that actually got goosebumps to me, and I was completely shocked and completely saddened by the episodes that take place so casually. And there was no sign of guilt, there was no sign of regret with all these people when I have been speaking to them, because they somewhere got used to doing this. But right now, because they were only focusing on the pleasure that they were getting. Now again, I have only spoken to one person in all the episodes that I'm talking about. I have not spoken to somebody, I have not spoken to the victim, or I have not spoken to the person who's exploited somebody. But in any case, this is not happening because there are many people available outside your family wherein a person can indulge into being, or satisfying his or her sexual desires, of course consensually. But why involve family? The whole thing is because just to save the image, the image conscious people that we are, just to save the image and just to experiment also with our physical needs and desires. The greed element in us takes so much control of our mental and thinking capacity that we feel that okay, this is all going to be remaining behind the closed doors, and who's going to come and make us feel guilty about the whole thing? We are never going to face any image related problems, so let's continue with something like this. But all those people who are thinking like this, let me tell you, you are somewhere hampering your your relationship personally with your spouse. Somewhere slowly and gradually you're causing, there is a crack and a drift happening in your relationship which you're not even aware. And the worst is, in case if your children get to know that you are into any such relationship, they take it as a norm, and they also start doing these things within their own families. And this is not bringing up, and to the extent one fine day you end up coming, you will see two people coming and saying that I want to marry my brother, I want to marry my sister, and these other, I want to marry my father, I want to marry my mother. Because if a teenager gets stuck there, they are going to be obsessed with a feeling like this. So this is a request. This video is especially made to bring about a notice and to bring about your attention to this particular area. So parents, whoever, an adult or parent, whoever, even if you catch hold of your child watching porn, doing anything that you feel is not ethical or immoral, because you were not brought up like that and it comes as a shock to you, rather than punishing your child, educate your child. The only way to stop these things happening in our society is when your child is curious. Do not ask or divert or distract your mind, your child, and say that you will not let this child know right now, and you cannot let the child know right now. At age appropriate knowledge should be given and has to be addressed. The curiosity has to be addressed. I have had many videos. I'll try putting up the link of those things, that depending upon the teenage, I have put in the videos of how to talk to your child about sex related issues. And this is very important because this will prevent in future any adult, any other such person in your environment to take undue advantage of your child's curiosity. So as parents, why don't you see to it what's good for your child, and start answering questions to your child's curiosity. Also, even as an adult, even if he or she is not your child, if you happen to see a child who's probably pleasuring himself or watching porn or anything of that sort, if you see a child or other child being intimate or in maybe a compromising position with somebody else, do not blow up the issue, do not blackmail the child, do not threaten the child saying that I'm going to expose you, what the hell were you doing. Just explain the child, pacify the child, and tell the child that this was fine, you did something that you were urged to do, but I'll tell you, let me explain you how and what are the right ways of doing it. You can, if you are not capable enough in doing it, if you are hesitant, if you are in short of words, if you are not comfortable, there are professionals who can help your child with these things. But do not ignore this. Do not leave this topic, brush it under the carpet and think, okay, now it's all over. It's not over. It is growing indirectly in an extremely wrong direction somewhere, which the day you come to know, you're going to be in utter shock. So kindly, I request each one of you to take this topic a little too seriously. I understand it's not very pleasing to hear about these things, but these are facts that are happening around us, and I completely wish that we as adults take this responsibility in saving our youth from at least incestuous acts. Thank you so much. Please comment if you've liked the video, and please do share. I don't know if many people have been talking about this topic, but I want this topic to be known to a lot of people so that they can prevent the next generation from getting into this.